All right, welcome to another edition of Rock Show Critiques. Whatever the hell you want to call it, I guess is a good term. I'm bringing in my guest today, and we're going to talk about our topic. Welcome, Thom Jennings. Welcome.
Welcome to me as well. It's always great to be here. Listen, today we got a great topic. It's one we've been kicking around for a while. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a title. I'm thinking it's going to be underappreciated frontmen. And
Replacement.
Because
they
here's
are
the thing.
replacement.
No. I mean, can you say that Sammy Hagar was a replacement to David Lee Roth or Ronnie James Dio was a replacement to?
They took over the
They
throne.
took over the spot, but they're not. To me, Kelly Hansen is a replacement singer, right?
Okay.
Although one of my guys, I guess, might fall in that category. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
My criteria is guys that assumed lead singer duties and they don't get the respect that I think that they are due for what they have done for that band. Yeah, I don't know, but we got them.
We got them.
Everybody has the opinion. Any band you look at. Let me go back to the Black Sabbath thing. I mean, Black Sabbath had Tony Martin, they had Ronnie James Dio, they had Ian Gillan, they had, Glenn Hughes for 25 seconds. I mean, there's other guys that have been in there and
Ray Gillan. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So, a lot of times these guys fall by the wayside. People don't look at them, or maybe they come on at a later stage of the band's career, or they mark a completely new direction for a particular band.
So the one criteria you mentioned that we were making sure that we have is they had to have at least recorded one album with the band.
Correct. Yes.
So that was pretty much our only.
Although a good album, although I don't know, one of my guys may not fall into that criteria per se. In some people's minds,
it could still be a good album in your eyes, but maybe not in others. But we'll
maybe not the rest of the world.
All right, well, let's get started here. I'm going to let you throw out your first choice. We each got 3 choices, and we'll go back and forth on them here.
Man, who do I go with first? I'm gonna go Gary Cherone first, because Gary Cherone, he took over for Van Halen, or took over in Van Halen for Sammy Hagar, and he was in a horrible spot. So you got this David Lee Roth, and then Roth quit, whichever story you want to read or believe. And then Sammy Hagar comes in. Hagar is killing it for a while. And then Hagar, he eventually has a falling out with the Van Halen brothers. Oh, go figure. Band members not getting along. What a shock. So unusual. But then Gary Cherone comes in, and the one album he had was the Van Halen 3, which the 3, not third album, but third lineup. I'm assuming that's why they chose that particular moniker. The album itself, a lot of people just trash it. They say, oh, it's a horrible album. I like it as an album. I mean, it doesn't have the kind of standout Van Halen tracks that they ever have to worry about playing again if they had performed, when Eddie was alive. But, and I mean, the sad part is, like, those Cherone tracks were only performed during Cherone's tenure, so they didn't really have a chance to maybe resonate with the fan base as much. But what I loved about Gary Cherone is that he had a great stage presence, still does.
Yeah.
Great voice. He had a voice that was suited to both the David Lee Roth material, but definitely sang the Roth material better than Hagar did. And he could handle the Hagar material with ease. Like the Hagar material was really in his wheelhouse. So I think from I think like Ronnie James Dio singing Iron Man, very, very different approach. And it sounds like Ronnie James Dio, whereas Cherone kind of sounded like Cherone, but man, he just did. It was almost like that Roth material. He sang it in a way that, there were some songs I thought he handled a lot better than Roth did. I'm going to get some daggers for that, but Gary Cherone singing Mean Street, look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, check the YouTube. That's the proof of the pudding.
Or Unchained. I mean, he really sang that. He sang that Roth material. I think there were songs that from the Roth era he sang better than Roth. I think the songs from the Hagar era he sang as good as Hagar. That's my opinion. That's what I got.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I never got to see him. Did you see him live, Cherone with Van Halen?
No, but I've watched entire concert videos and been pissed that I didn't see him live. I mean, it's like I just look at them and go, "Oh my god, this stuff is good. It's just really good."
Well, unfortunately, that's the way a lot of people look at like an album.
Right.
Obviously, that album came out and it tanked. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
The radio really didn't touch it. Um, so no one ever really gave it a fair enough shake to go see the lineup. I mean, they weren't selling a lot of tickets either. It was a lot of playing a lot of half-empty sheds, believe it or not. And it's sad, but that's what happened. I never saw it either, but I know, from just experiences and reviews and everything, same exact situation. I'm sure maybe in some markets they probably filled the place, like probably Detroit, because you can have Detroit, they sell it out for anybody that's got a name there. But a lot of other venues, I know Buffalo was definitely half empty.
Yeah, they
Uh,
did Dairy and
yeah,
Meg, but I honestly, it's if they had a good commercials recording of a live album with Gary Sharon, they should put it out. But
well,
Van
that ain't.
Halen's just kind of notorious for just not putting out a lot of extra stuff, and it's a shame
Yeah,
because they did a live album with Roth, which is Roth's vocals on it are pretty rough. The Hagar one, I just think that the mix is awful, and it'd be nice to hear a good solid mixed Gary
yeah,
Schronau. And I think Gary also, his vocals really gave Eddie a chance to really be the guy. I mean, Sammy and Dave were such big personalities, whereas Gary was just he stayed in his lane. He was great. Not enough credit for what
yeah.
he did for that band.
Yeah, good choice. I'll give you credit on that one. Even though the album wasn't the greatest, the live stuff and everything else you mentioned was perfect. All right, I'm gonna
But
go
it
into.
but quick before I let you move on, was that album not great because it was measured by against all the other Van Halen albums, or was it just not great? Because I think it was the latter. I think because you measured it against the Van Halen catalog, it was judged harshly.
Well,
Whereas
just
if you
like.
just judge it on its
Mhm.
own, it's a good album.
Well, for me, I just judged it as an album. I put it on and I'm going, what the hell is this? I just could not
Yeah,
get into the songs. There was
because you had an
nothing.
expectation.
There
You
was
had an
no, I didn't have
expectation.
no expectation. The same thing with Hagar. When Hagar joined Van Halen, I put it on, I
Mm,
listened to it. Hagar it was catchy music. It was something that
yeah.
stood out. You know, with
So what
Sharon,
you're
there
saying
there
is the
wasn't.
change was too extreme.
There you go. All
Got to
right,
get
we
into
got
dad jokes. Go ahead.
a
Go,
lot of
go.
guys to get through here, but that's perfect analysis right there.
Yeah.
You hit the
Too
nail on the
extreme.
head. All right. So I'll go my throwing my first name out there, and that's gonna be Arnel Pineda. Um,
Ooh.
yeah,
Mm.
although Journey is still selling many concert tickets out there, um, it is because Arnell is doing such an admirable job. Had they gotten a second-rate singer or somebody who wasn't as capable of doing the material the way it needed to be done, there's no way they'd be selling as many tickets as they have and able to maintain. Because look at what happened over the last few years. They lost Ross Valerie on bass. They lost Steve Smith once again on drums. They got some replacement guys in. They still haven't missed a beat. And that's not because of those replacement guys, although you got to give them a little bit of credit. It's all because of Arnell. I mean, let's be honest. Jeff Scott Soto filled in for him for one tour, uh, before took over for Algieri because of vocal issues. Steve Algieri, who was the second Journey behind the first vocalist to replace Steve Perry. So Scott Soto came in, and a lot of people were disappointed. They felt that he just didn't have the voice for the Journey material, although he's a great singer in his own right. But the style, it was the problem. Arnell, everybody says he sounds so much like Perry. I would say early on, the first couple tours, yes. But as time has gone on, I feel Arnell can't really do what he once did, but he still makes the songs sound good. I don't know if you've seen him recently over the last few years or not.
I saw him on must have been his very first tours, 2008. I remember because it was right after our honeymoon. My wife got sick and she couldn't go. I took my son instead. And that's the only time I saw him with Arnell. I was impressed. I thought he did a great job. I mean, at the time he was still really like hyper energetic, all over the stage and that kind of stuff. And it was funny in the section I was in, some of the people were really turned off by that, but they were at the top of a triple bill at the New York State Fair in Syracuse, New York, with Cheap Trick and Hart. And Hart was phenomenal. And I didn't think Journey would be able to follow him it like at all. I was like, there's no way Journey's gonna be able to follow him. And they did. They did great. They were just as good as Hart, and Hart was incredible. Cheap Trick, they're solid, but they only played like 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah, so it's just my take, and I really love that first album they did with Arnell. Second
100% agree on that. Yep.
second one was so. It was a more guitar oriented album.
Yep.
The second one, but the last one is kind of like it's better than the previous one, but nowhere near as good as the first one. It's got a good mix of
Yep.
tracks on there, but um, it's not because Arnell sounds bad or anything. It's just I just felt the style of music on a couple of the tracks just isn't all what it should be. And they put a lot of, I think there's like 15 tracks on that album. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that first one was great. It was great. Even the remakes were really good.
oh yeah, because it was a big 3-disc package or something like that.
It was, I believe it was two, was they were selling it through Walmart, which back,
Well,
that was kind of, a marketing thing.
They had a DVD to make it the third disc.
Oh, they did? Oh,
Yeah, it had a live show
interesting.
on there with Arnell, one of his first tours.
Oh, okay. Yes. Now it's all coming back to me now. Yeah. And Foreigner did, I think Foreigner did the same thing with Cancel It Out. And it was like Cancel It Out and
Similar, yeah. And then the
yeah,
remakes of
remakes.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's my take. Arnel Pineda is one of my three choices. What do you got for your second choice?
You say Pineda, I say Panada. I'm just kidding. That was, you know that song? Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
My next choice, I did a switcheroo on because I remembered the guy I was going to put in, so I
Ah,
swapped out somebody.
all right.
I got Ray Wilson.
Hmm.
You know Ray Wilson?
I know Ray Wilson. I'm just surprised he's on the list.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man! So you don't like that last Genesis album, Calling All Stations?
It's different, but it's okay. I think it ended up probably, what are they, how many albums they have? Somewhere in like 16, 17 or something like that. Anyhow, it probably ended up on the top end of the bottom three, bottom
Yeah,
third.
we did the ranking on Genesis. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I know my Calling All Stations was significantly higher, but I was also a big Mike and the Mechanics fan, so I wasn't necessarily boxed into having, you know, I mean, I was used to these sort of Genesis offshoots, and in some ways, I feel like Calling All Stations is almost like Mike and the Mechanics with a different singer, which they've done subsequently. But I love the record. I mean, I love that record. I love it. I really do. And I'm not exaggerating, as opposed to Van Halen 3, which I thought was, it's a good record. It's okay. It's not great. Um, Calling All Stations, I love it. Again, not necessarily weighing it against the Genesis catalog. I mean, it's not Lamb Lies Down on Broadway or Trick of the Tail or, even Abacab in terms of the songs on it. But and again, if you get a chance to see some of the Ray Wilson led shows, he
Mm-hmm.
could sing Gabriel so well, and he could handle the Collins stuff too. He was like this weird, unique hybrid between the two of them. He had a little bit of that gravel that made the Gabriel stuff very interesting. And even I even had a couple of solo albums. He was doing some solo, or he released some solo acoustic albums where he was singing like Carpet Crawlers and things like that. He did
Mm.
such a good job. He was a very strong vocalist. It's kind of a shame that he didn't do as well. And it's if I remember correctly, they had a US tour scheduled and they had to cancel it due to poor ticket sales. And I think today,
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, the name Genesis alone, it's funny to think that there was a time where if you replaced the lead singer, it did have such a negative impact on your ticket sales. Like you said, Van Halen with Sharon never quite caught on, and neither did Genesis with Ray Wilson. But you wonder if it was 10 years later when the music consuming public just pretty much said, "Oh, Journey." They don't go, "Who's in it?" They're just like, "Oh, Journey." We'll go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Ray I think Ray could have extended the life of Genesis if that first US tour had taken off. I mean, ELO is another band that tried to do a US tour and couldn't pull it off. And now you look back on that and go, "What?
Now
ELO
they're
couldn't
selling
sell
out. Yeah.
tickets?"
Yep.
Yeah, same band. Nothing really changed. It's just Jeff Lynne and a
And a bunch of,
bunch of guys
yeah.
behind him. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like Ray never got the credit that he was due. I love the record, the live recordings that I've seen from that tour. He does a phenomenal job with all the material. So there you go,
All right.
Ray Wilson.
I'm going to bring up my next candidate, and that's going to be Mr. Brian Howe, the late Mr. Brian Howe, unfortunately, as he had sadly passed away a few years back here. He took Bad Company, pretty much, they took a break after Paul Rogers left, and then they ended up regrouping. Mick Ralphs and Simon Kirk ended up bringing in Brian Howe, and the first album didn't really do much. Fame and Fortune, but it set the groundwork for what was to come, and that was just a couple amazing albums that came out of nowhere, really, because nobody expected these guys, to relaunch their whole career, like it was before. I mean, how do you replace Paul Rogers? It's actually unheard of. So it was kind of like a different band in a way, and this is one of those cases where you wonder why the name of the band never got changed. But looking back, you look back and you got Dangerous Age came out in 1988. It goes gold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 1990, Holy Water comes out, platinum. 1992, Here Comes Trouble, right in the middle of the grunge, still went gold. So, obviously, if that musical landscape never changed, I guarantee you that album would have went platinum. You just got, how took them to like a whole new area, you know, where everybody was always considering them classic rock, but they kind of brought in and made themselves more mainstream and a little bit kind of like because remember Howe fronted Ted Nugent for a while too. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of had that little hair era thing going on and everything along with the classic Bad Company. And I thought he did a commendable job. That's about pretty much all I got on it. I don't know what your take is on Mr. Howe.
Oh, Holy Water is one of my favorite Bad Company albums, and I mean I'm a huge fan of the classic lineup, but Holy Water is just a great record. But yeah, I mean, speaking to the name, it's like King Crimson. King Crimson was supposed to be called Discipline when Adrian Blue came in the band. Record labels like, oh, you got to make it. It's got to be King Crimson. Yes, it's supposed to be Cinema, and then John Anderson joins the project. Like, oh, it's got to be Yes. So it's just that it speaks to the power of the brand. When you look at a band like the Beatles, that lineup is sacrosanct. It's John, Paul, George, Ringo. We're not going to accept anything else. Although I think the Beatles could have toured post Lennon's death with somebody else in his place. It wouldn't have been the same, but they still would have sold tickets as the Beatles. I mean, look at the Monkees. I mean, they toured with two guys or whatever, not necessarily as sacrosanct. There's somebody yelling at the screen right now. You're comparing the Monkees with the Beatles? Nah, not really. but my point being is that the Beatles really, that lineup is so identifiable with the band, or even the two guys in the Rolling Stones, two guys in the Who. We don't the two guys in the Kinks. There's certain bands where you just can't pull somebody out and go and still call it that. And anybody's going to say that there's any sense of validity. Pink Floyd. I mean, they pulled it off, pulling one key member because they were sort of faceless. They weren't. There wasn't. Waters and Gilmore weren't like these household names. And so even to a certain extent with Bad Company, King Crimson, Yes, all these, the band name is prominent enough that they don't necessarily have to worry about the individual members. And we've seen that play out. I mean, how many bands can you name? Styx, you got Journey, you got, I mean, the list goes on and on. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right, that takes us to your number 3 choice here.
Speaking of replacement guys, this is one I really love, though. He's really my only true replacement. I guess he could fall in that sort of replacement category. And he did a phenomenal, I think he's done 2 with Kansas that are phenomenal. Ronnie Platt, lead singer of Kansas. And I think in many ways, he really helped save that band from just kind of fading off into oblivion. Now, there were two guys, two of the real prominent lead singers, of course, Steve Walsh and John Elefante. I like the
Mhm.
John Elefante stuff. I like the Steve Walsh stuff when his voice was still strong. He definitely, his voice started to deteriorate near the end of his career. His phrasing was definitely different, and there was a period of time that Kansas was kind of that perennial free concert. You know, they're coming by every year, and it was a free show. And these days, I mean, I don't know what kind of draw they are, but they're performing some of their classic albums in their entirety. Ronnie's just got a really solid voice. It's close to Walsh and Elefante. It kind of stays in that same vein, but he brings a he. I think he brought a new level of enthusiasm to the band, and I don't know. I mean, they're down to what are they down to one original member, Rich Williams, because I don't think the drummer Phil Ahart plays with them all the time anymore because of health
Well,
issues.
he missed this last tour, Phil
Yeah.
did. He's been there the whole
Right.
time since. He's looking to come back, so I'm not sure. All I know is, and you can attest to this, we were looking at that Rochester show and it wasn't selling worth beans, and neither was the Shea show a year before. I think they just overpicked overplayed themselves into big venues. They should have been playing smaller places, that's all. Or maybe different
But that's
types
that's that's
of
this
things.
market. I mean, our market is not necessarily indicative of other markets. I mean, we looked at that John Anderson show with the Band Geeks, and it didn't seem to sell well in this general area, but it was selling out all over. So I think if I remember correctly, with the Rochester, Kansas show, the sales were light, but then the Toronto show was close to sold out. Either way, I mean, either way, they're active, they're touring. I mean, ticket sales notwithstanding, the music's great. It's very quality. I mean, I've seen videos of the live Platt shows. Again, the studio albums with him have all been high quality. And even when Walsh was around, I mean, Walsh had no interest in recording. And I don't know if it's just because it was his voice had gotten to the point where it just didn't make sense for him to do it anymore. Because like the other members did an album without him at one point.
Yeah.
But either way, man, I got a lot of respect for Ronnie Platt. I don't think he's actually from Kansas, but
I think you're right, though. He doesn't really get a lot of credit, and that was a good choice there, just because he still does the songs in concert very well, and the two
oh
albums
yeah.
he made, like you said, really, especially the last one, I really enjoyed. It was one of the better Kansas albums in quite some time, actually. So,
And that material is tough. Going back to Journey. I mean, Journey lost lead singers because and even Arnell was having issues
mhm,
singing Journey material over an extended period of time. I mean, you can wreck your throat if you
mhm,
got some of that real high register stuff. Def Leppard is another one that kind of comes to mind with regard to that. And so I just think Steve Walsh, I think he was probably one of those guys that early on in his career, they said, hey, man, push it, put it up in your upper register, put it in your upper register. And then as he got older, it was just that much more difficult for him to do, especially doing any kind of touring. So I respect him for stepping away when he did.
yeah,
I think it was probably a combination of things, combination of like, I don't need the money. I've made these classic records, and now it's time for me to step aside. And
enjoy life.
Ronnie's done an admirable job coming in and really making sure that material is still being performed at a high level.
All right, very good. All right, so my final choice here is going to be none other than, any
Drum roll
guesses?
for your final choice. Give
Any
me a hint.
choice? Any
Give me
guesses?
their first. Give me their first and last name. Oh, hold on. I gotta take a.
Mr.
Really, you're
Lawrence
going with Mr.
Gowan.
Lawrence
I'm going
Gowan?
Mr. Lawrence Gowan, and
Oh,
the reason why I'm going with Mr. Lawrence Gowan is not because of all your sticks related videos lately on tuning in with Thom. A little plug for Thom's great show there.
nice. Go see it.
Yep. Um, I look at it this way. Had Sticks failed with Gowan, where would they be today? would Dennis DeYoung be back, or would they have had to gone and gotten somebody else? There you go.
There's your guy.
Yeah. But I just think Gowan, I mean, was able to maintain Styx, and he's been able to keep the party going, and he's not afraid to go back and sing any song out of the catalog, as we know, pretty much. Obviously he's got to take his orders from Tommy and JY regarding that, because one song they're never going to play, obviously, is going to be Babe. You're never going to hear that one live. But they have added in Mr. Roboto, surprisingly, over the years, which is something they almost never did up until about 2018 is where they kind of started that, and now it's a first encore every night, which is kind of surprising considering all the bad things that song kind of drew up with the band and everything. And then, of course, they added Best of Times this year, which hasn't been really played since the Return to Paradise tour, when they got back together with Dennis back in 1996 and 97 when they did a batch of shows. So Gowan, he's not afraid to try to sing any of the songs. He does a great job. I think on most of the last two studio albums, I thought his vocal performance was really good, and a couple of the songs on those albums were he probably sings the best songs on the last few albums. So,
Yeah, I think the only bummer there is I think all the material is pretty much Tommy and Will, isn't it? I don't know if Gowan gets
right. Gowan did write some
writing
things.
credit.
Yeah, he wrote some things on. If I'm not mistaken, for sure, Crash of the Crown. 'Cause I remember when I interviewed him. Yeah, he wrote a couple songs with Tommy and Will. "Save Us from Ourselves," "Crash of the Crown," which is the title cut, which they're performing right now. And that's another plug there. Make sure you go out and catch Sticks on the Road this summer as they're hitting the sheds with Foreigner and John Waite. So it's a great package. We were able to catch that tour on the second night in Cleveland, Ohio, and as an overall package, it was phenomenal, but there's no doubt about it that Styx steals the show. No, and they weren't even the headliners that night, Foreigner was, but they're alternating every other night. Styx one night, Foreigner the next. But I'll tell you, where else can you get a guy to open up a show with such a solid set like John Waite, man? The guy's had 2 number 1 hits, been a part of, and that's something that Styx and Foreigner can't even say. So they only each had 1 number 1 hit. John Waite had 2.
And John sings this.
Yeah, exactly.
What was Foreigner's number 1? Was it
I Want to Know What Love Is?
Want to Know What Love Is?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. You think about it, like ballads are number 1s. Every band had. It's always cracks me up about all this Babe Styx talk. I mean, every band had ballads in that era. They all had barrel. I mean, you're telling me that Babe is sappier than Open Arms? I mean, it's all music, man. People love it. People love those ballads. It's the songs that we danced with our girlfriends to. But yeah, Gowan. Back to Gowan. And I guess he said he doesn't sing Babe, and his reasoning is it's a very personal song to Dennis DeYoung. A lot of people don't buy that. I absolutely believe that. There is, from what I read, a single performance by Gowan singing Babe in, I think it was in Japan in the early 2000s, and I've been looking for it. So if anybody has it, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. There's a bootleg of Gowan singing it. I always wonder what it would sound like. But nobody sings that song like Dennis DeYoung. But Gowan, to me, falls a little bit more in a category of Ronnie James Dio and Sammy Hagar, in the sense that he's singing somebody else's songs. Yeah, he's in the same vocal range and everything like that. But he's singing like Larry Gowan. He's not singing like Dennis DeYoung. Nobody sings like Dennis DeYoung, and Gowan knows that. And in terms of his keyboard skills, again, very different approach. You had Dennis DeYoung, who really learned to play keyboards on accordion, whereas Gowan is this classically trained, prodigy. Guy's prodigy. You ever seen some of the videos of just Gowan doing stuff on his keyboard? Amazing.
Well, I've seen him live without sticks, so he does a lot of that kind of stuff in his own concerts there.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
And he's a sweet guy. He really is. He's just a very lovable, very nice interview.
Yeah, I just feel that he's just one of those ones too that, he's in sticks. Everybody always talks about the old, and they don't even really even bring Gowan up much when they're trying. Everybody that always talks about the Dennis situation. It's always a Dennis and Tommy, or
It ain't
JY will,
everybody. It ain't everybody, Joe.
right.
It's just about 6 or 7 of us.
Oh,
We just think everybody's talking about it. You know, the
well,
Real
they
Music
are.
Observer thinks everybody's talking about it. You know, it is an issue for a small cadre of diehard Styx fans, but the fact that Styx is still drawing audiences, and let me tell you, Dennis DeYoung goes out tomorrow and sings a songs of Styx. He'll be drawing audiences too because people love the songs. The songs are great. It comes down to the songs. If you
Hmm.
got a great song and somebody that can sing it, that's what you need,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Ronnie Platt, great songs to sing, does a great job singing them. Ray Wilson, in addition to songs that he recorded, had some great songs to sing. Gary Sharon, great songs to sing, great job singing them. That's maybe that's what we should have called it. Great singers singing great songs.
All right, buddy. Well, this was a good episode. Glad to see we got to mention some people who don't always get their just due here. So it was good to mention some of these guys.
Yeah.
Give them
Let's
some
mention
credit.
David Cretin too, because he's not here with us today. But I feel like you guys always mention me when I watch videos that I'm not there. So this will prove whether Davey made it to the end of the episode or not. Davey, if you
Ah.
made it to the end of the episode, this soda water's for you, buddy.
Well, he likes his show Bonnie.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
His yogurt ranking. You ever see that one?
I did.
Yep.
Yes. I'll
Okay.
do my Wegmans flavored soda ranking. Number 1, lime mint.
There you go. All right. So that's good. And that's Cretan Classics is for you people who want to catch his YouTube channel where he has a lot of content. And he keeps saying he'll have us on, but yet here we sit, not on his
Here
channel.
we
So
sit,
Davey, come
not on
on.
his channel.
Yeah, let's get moving here. We got all the time in the world. Okay. All right. Well, great episode, and make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. And obviously, there's a lot more people out there that could have been chosen for this episode, by name. So throw a couple names out there for us, because I know Thom
Sure.
had a Jolyn Turner mentioned, and there's a lot of other people we could have mentioned too. So that's one thing we'd like to see is the comments to see what you guys thought about who, Steve Hogarth and Marillion's another great example, who totally nothing sings nothing like Fish, the former original singer, but he was able to do the Fish songs in a manner that the fans appreciated, and then obviously they what about maybe 20 albums later, he's been in the band that long, and he's just done a
Yeah.
phenomenal job with them, no doubt about it. All right, then. We are signing off, folks. Thank you.